Here you see what a student's homepage looks like on the iPad. When I initially received the iPads, it was important to me that I would know the iPad that belonged to each student. So I did a wallpaper with numbers on it that would coincide with each student's student number. I also removed some of the standard default apps and put them further on the iPad on other homepage screens. Initially, we only had a few apps, but as the year has progressed, I've added more apps, and so what you see here are folders, and within each folders are the apps for that particular content area. So I try to keep it simple. Currently, we have about 41 apps. I don't always keep the apps on the iPad. I delete the ones that we're done with and try to rotate apps in to keep interest, to extend experience on different apps, and not to make the home screen too complicated or cluttered. So what you see here in the top left corner is a link to my school webpage. So with Safari, when you open up a URL, you can save to your home page. And while this looks like a app icon, it really is just a hot link to my web page. That's the same for this in Kahoot, which we use a lot. There isn't an app for Kahoot. This allows my students to just tap on this icon and it takes them to the sign-in screen for Kahoot. Let's see, what else should I tell you about? I think the rest of these are apps. So I have them broken down into categories. Each iPad, the folders are arranged in the same order. Sometimes the apps get rearranged because the students move them around. But I have photography because we use the camera and the photo album quite a bit. Various word work apps, math, various whiteboards. These are independent tasks that the children use during workstations. These are various book creation apps. This is science. This is a series of, I think it's 37 books, beautifully illustrated, well written, and I think that app was like $1. And then here is my beloved Seesaw, which I'll tell you about in another broadcast. Down here, this is the dock, and I move apps in and out of the dock based on how they're being used and our area of focus. So, of course, we use a search engine, we use Safari, and then Raz Kids we use every day, so that's on there. iBooks is here, and it stays here because anything we create in Book Creator is then published to iBooks to read and to share. Of course, Kahoots. And then this is a very popular app with children called Bitsboard, which I'll have to tell you about another time. So there you have it, the initial setup. To create this homepage with the number, to organize the apps and remove things like contacts and newsstand, any of those standard Apple iPad apps that aren't appropriate for young learners. It took me about 4 minutes per iPad when I first got them. I don't load a lot of apps because my focus is more on creativity. I'd rather have few that we do really well than to load it up with lots of options for the children in the way of content apps. So our home screen, I think, is pretty simple and it works really well. I tell the children to open up a certain folder and go into a certain app, and they've learned to master that very well and are very independent. So there you have it. That's the initial setup of the student's iPad.